So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the out one of you Uncle Tom for doing it. Which one of you gonna do it first?
He performed at the Crypto Ball as part of inauguration weekend for Donald J.
It's funny,
He's doing all these things.
Katt Williams just went at Snoop Dogg in a way nobody saw coming. And let me tell you, the Uncle Snoop we all know and love is not having it. We're talking about a decades-long friendship that might be completely over, and the tea that's spilling is absolutely wild. Katt allegedly called Snoop out for something so specific, so personal, that Snoop had to break his usual cool demeanor and respond. What could make these two West Coast legends turn on each other after all these years?
I just want to say this real quick. Now, on the political shit. All you people for the federal government that not getting paid right now, ain't no fucking way in the world y'all can vote for Donald Trump when he come back up again. If y'all do vote for him, y'all some stupid motherfuckers.
Was inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States of America. Snoop Dogg performed at the Crypto Ball. Now, Snoop Dogg, he got the backlash because people are like, wait, this isn't the same Snoop from 2016 who had so much to say about the artist performing.
Your career down the road. People might not want to book you in Texas or Arizona or California.
Sir. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Let's let...
Now, before we dive deep into this mess, let me paint the picture of who these two are to each other. Snoop Dogg and Katt Williams go way back. We're talking about a friendship that spans over 2 decades in the entertainment industry. They've worked together, they've partied together, and they've publicly supported each other through some of the toughest moments in both their careers.
Yeah. Get your life right. Stop worrying about mine. I'm cool. I'm together. Still a black man. Still 100% black.
On some real though, it's about time somebody said some gangster shit up in here. Hey yo, Katt Williams, when did they start selling pimp clothes at Baby Gap? My nigga over there drinking that Hennessy out of that little sippy cup.
These two have always represented something special in entertainment. They're both unapologetically themselves, they've both built careers on keeping it real, and they've both navigated the industry without compromising who they are. At least, that's what fans thought.
Of course, Snoop has responded to the backlash he received for performing for a Trump event. One of the things he pointed out was that we always stick together. We're good at tearing each other apart, which is pretty constant. It's pretty consistent when somebody gets into trouble. It takes backlash from the community. It's always a communal thing. It isn't any action they took. It is the fact that we can't stay together, that we can't stick together, that it's us always attacking us. But that flies in the face of the reality of what's happening right now. It is not us who are tearing down affirmative action. It is not us who is tearing down DEI. It is not us who are tearing families apart. It is not us who have decided that affirmative action and rollbacks that have been that had precedent for 50, 60 years are gone. It is not us that is doing it. It is, I think most people are disappointed because they saw you a specific way, and you have a right to kind of interpret and do whatever artistically you want to. No one's begrudging you that. But why the attack on the community because they disagree with something you did?
True to his roots, despite all the money and fame. But here's the thing about Hollywood friendships. They can look solid on the surface while cracks are forming underneath. And apparently, those cracks between Snoop and Katt have been there for a minute. Word on the street is that tension has been building for at least the past year, maybe longer. Some insiders claim that Katt started feeling like Snoop was moving differently, making choices that didn't align with the principles they used to share. Other sources say Snoop felt like Katt was becoming too unpredictable, too willing to burn bridges for the sake of keeping it real. What nobody expected was for this to explode into a public situation. These are two grown men, both in their 50s, both with established legacies. The assumption was that whatever issues they had would be handled behind closed doors. But Katt Williams doesn't really do behind closed doors, does he? The man has made a career out of saying exactly what's on his mind, consequences be damned. Now here's where it gets crazy. According to multiple reports, Katt Williams issued what people are calling a warning to Snoop during a recent comedy show. And I'm not talking about some vague comment that could be interpreted different ways. Allegedly, Katt got on stage and specifically called out Snoop by name, talking about how certain people in the industry are selling out their culture and their people for mainstream acceptance and corporate deals. He reportedly said something along the lines of Snoop needing to wake up before he loses everything that made people respect him in the first place. The audience at this show apparently went silent at first, then erupted. Some people were cheering, some were shocked, but everyone knew they were witnessing something significant. Fans who were there started posting on social media immediately, and within hours, clips were circulating everywhere. The problem is, and this is where it gets messy, there's no clear video of exactly what Katt said. We've got accounts from people who were there, we've got some audio snippets that are hard to hear clearly, but we don't have that smoking gun video that shows the whole thing. What we do have is a whole lot of people talking about what Katt allegedly said. According to folks who were in that comedy club, Katt went on for at least 10 minutes about authenticity in the entertainment industry. He talked about how some of the people who came up preaching realness and representing the streets have now turned into corporate puppets. He allegedly mentioned Snoop's partnership deals, his mainstream TV appearances, and specifically called out some recent business moves that Katt thinks cross a line. The streets are saying that Katt mentioned Snoop's involvement with certain brands and companies that have questionable histories when it comes to supporting Black communities. He reportedly questioned how Snoop could go from being this anti-establishment figure to sitting at tables with executives who don't have the culture's best interests at heart. And apparently, Katt said this wasn't coming from a place of hate, but from a place of brotherly concern, which is why he called it a warning rather than just straight-up criticism. But hold up, it gets messier. Social media absolutely exploded once word got out. You had Team Katt saying he's the only one brave enough to keep it real and call out the sellouts. You had Team Snoop saying Katt's just bitter and jealous of Snoop's success and business acumen. Then you had a whole third group saying both of them need to squash this privately and stop giving the internet ammunition to tear down Black excellence. The responses were all over the place. Some people pulled up receipts of times when Snoop has spoken about staying independent and not letting the industry change him, pointing out what they see as hypocrisy in his recent moves. Others defended Snoop, saying the man has every right to make money and build generational wealth for his family, and that just because he's working with mainstream companies doesn't mean he's sold out. What do y'all think? Is there a difference between being successful and selling out, or is Katt onto something here? Celebrity gossip pages went into overdrive. The Shade Room, Hollywood Unlocked, all the major platforms were posting about this multiple times a day. Comment sections were war zones. You had older heads who remember Snoop from the death row days saying they understand Katt's concerns. You had younger fans saying people need to let Snoop live and make his money. And you had industry insiders dropping cryptic comments that suggested there's way more to this story than what's public. Now, Snoop Dogg is not the type to usually respond to every little thing. The man has been in the game long enough to know that sometimes the best response is no response. He's dealt with beefs, controversies, criticism, and he's typically stayed above it with that signature laid-back attitude. But reportedly, this situation with Katt hit different. Sources close to Snoop claim that he felt blindsided by the public call-out, especially because he thought whatever issues existed between them could be handled man-to-man. According to insiders, Snoop initially tried to reach out to Katt privately after hearing about the comedy show Situation. He allegedly wanted to have a conversation, figure out what was really going on, and address any concerns directly. But word is that Katt either didn't respond or made it clear that the time for private conversations had passed. That's when Snoop reportedly decided he needed to address this publicly. Snoop's response came through an Instagram post, and y'all know when Snoop gets serious on social media, it means something. He didn't go on a long rant, and he didn't attack Katt directly, but the message was clear. He posted something about loyalty, about people who claim to keep it real but don't know the whole story, and about being tired of playing nice with folks who want to tear down what you've built. He ended with something like, "I'm done playing games with people who don't respect the work." The comments on that post went absolutely insane. Thousands of responses within minutes, with people trying to decode every word and figure out if this was definitely about Katt. Some fans were saying Snoop needs to say Katt's name if he's going to respond, while others appreciated that he took the high road and didn't make it too direct. But let me tell you, everyone knew exactly who and what this was about. Then, things escalated further when people close to both camps started making their own statements. Reportedly, some comedians who are friends with Katt started backing him up on social media, talking about how the industry does change people and how it's important to have people who will check you when you're moving wrong. On the flip side, several people in Snoop's circle, including some business partners and longtime collaborators, started posting in support of him, talking about his integrity. The career implications here are wild to think about. Snoop Dogg has built an empire that goes way beyond music. We're talking about business ventures, TV shows, partnerships with major corporations, his own media company, cannabis brands, you name it. He's become this mainstream figure that everyone from teenagers to grandparents recognizes and largely respects. A public feud with Katt Williams, especially one centered on accusations of selling out, could potentially affect some of those relationships and deals. On the other hand, Katt Williams has always been the comedian who doesn't care about burning bridges if it means speaking his truth. His career has survived multiple controversies, legal issues, and public feuds because his fan base values his authenticity above everything else. This situation with Snoop, if anything, might actually strengthen Katt's brand among people who see him as the last real one standing. Other celebrities started weighing in too, though most were being careful not to pick sides too directly. Ice Cube reportedly made some comments about hoping his West Coast brothers can work things out. Several comedians posted vague messages about the importance of honesty among friends. Even some younger artists who look up to both Snoop and Katt started addressing the situation, mostly saying they respect both legends and hope this gets resolved. But here's where we need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, because this isn't really just about Snoop and Katt. This is about a conversation that's been happening in the entertainment industry for years. When does success become selling out? When does making smart business moves cross the line into compromising your values? And who gets to decide where that line is? Snoop Dogg came up in the early 90s during the gangster rap era. He was literally on trial for murder while his career was taking off. He represented something dangerous, something that mainstream America was afraid of. Fast forward 30 years, and he's doing commercials during the Super Bowl, hosting game shows, and partnering with companies that back then wouldn't have touched him with a 10-foot pole. For some people, that evolution is inspiring. It shows that a black man from Long Beach can build an empire and change the game. For others, like allegedly Katt Williams, that evolution represents a loss of authenticity. Remember when Snoop was getting criticized a few years back for some of his business partnerships? There were people questioning whether certain deals were aligned with his image and his community. Snoop addressed it then by saying he's about creating opportunities and building wealth that can support his family and his community for generations. He talked about how staying hood and struggling isn't noble, it's just struggling. And a lot of people respected that perspective. But Katt Williams represents a different philosophy. Katt has turned down major opportunities, walked away from big money deals, and publicly criticized the industry even when it hurt his career. He's been vocal about his belief that there are certain lines you don't cross, certain compromises you don't make, no matter how much money is on the table. And his fans love him for that uncompromising stance, even when it leads to controversial moments and career setbacks. This isn't the first time we've seen this dynamic play out in hip-hop and entertainment. You can go back and find similar tensions between artists who go mainstream and those who stay underground, between comedians who work within the Hollywood system and those who stay independent, between entrepreneurs who partner with corporations and those who build everything from scratch. It's a tale as old as the entertainment industry itself. What makes this situation particularly painful for fans is that Snoop and Katt seem to represent both paths successfully. Snoop showed you could cross over and still be respected. Katt showed you could keep it real and still have a career. They were proof that there wasn't just one right way to do this. So seeing them at odds feels like watching two different philosophies collide, and it's forcing people to pick a side when maybe both sides have valid points. Industry dynamics also play a role here that we can't ignore. Hollywood has a long history of dividing successful Black entertainers, of creating these narratives where there can only be one king, one person at the top. Some people are wondering if this whole situation is being amplified by forces that benefit from seeing Snoop and Katt at each other's throats rather than united. That's not to say their issues aren't real, but it's worth considering who wins when two legends tear each other down publicly. So where do things stand right now? As of the latest updates, Snoop and Katt reportedly haven't had any direct communication since this all went public. Snoop is continuing with his business as usual, posting about his various projects and ventures. Those sources say he's genuinely hurt by the situation. He allegedly feels like he's being attacked for his success by someone who should understand the game better than anyone. Katt, according to people close to him, feels vindicated in speaking out. He reportedly believes that someone needed to say something, and that years from now, people will understand why he felt compelled to issue this warning. He's continuing his comedy tour, and word is that he's addressing the Snoop situation in his shows, though we don't have clear details on exactly what he's saying. The big question everyone's asking is whether this friendship can be salvaged. These are two men who have been through a lot together, who have publicly supported each other through thick and thin. But this feels different from typical celebrity beef. This is about fundamental differences in how they see success, authenticity, and responsibility to the culture. Those aren't easy things to compromise on. Some fans are holding out hope that cooler heads will prevail, and that someone in both their circles will facilitate a conversation. Maybe someone like Ice Cube, who has relationships with both of them, could play mediator. Others think this split is permanent, that too much has been said publicly for them to go back to how things were. What happens next could set the tone for how we think about both these legends moving forward. If they reconcile, it could be a powerful moment about growth, understanding, and the importance of preserving real friendships in a fake industry. If this becomes a permanent rift, it'll be another sad example of how success and different philosophies can tear apart even the strongest bonds. Here's what I want to know from y'all. Do you think Katt Williams was right to call out Snoop publicly, or should he have kept this private? And do you see Snoop's business moves as smart evolution or selling out? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of those situations where I genuinely want to hear different perspectives. There's no clear right answer here, and that's what makes it so complicated. If you want more celebrity tea and the latest on how this situation develops, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This story is far from over, and you know I'll be keeping y'all updated on every twist and turn. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember that sometimes the messiest drama comes from the people we least expect.